Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I know
Jesus said there's two great commandments. One is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and the other one is to love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Cause all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to see that they don't want to fight no more, there be no more war, and our children obey. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Someday things will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, stop with the hate. Someday we'll all be free, and I'm proud to be under the same sun, singing toast.
There's not a whole lot you can do for them other than just to love on them and give them the gospel.
And so the motivation behind Christian acts of love to the world comes from their love for neighbor, to love somebody more than your stuff, than what's seemingly important in the moment, what might be fleeting, to sacrifice for others. But specifically, Jesus says after the discussion of the Great Tribulation in Matthew 24, in Matthew 25, he says that on the last day, in the vindication of his people, he will say to people, I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was in jail and you came and visited me. And his people will say on that day, when did we see you thirsty, hungry? When did we visit you? And he says, as much as you did to the least of these, or for the least of these, you did it unto me. And so there's something to that for the Christian, that we see what we do to the glory of God in serving others and lifting up the broken, taking care of widows and orphans and the homeless. We see that as really an act of worship towards God. It is for the person, but it's also an act of worship toward God. And Jesus is telling us that doing these things to these people and for these people is the same as doing it for me. And if God is conforming us, if the Father is conforming us to Christ's image to make us look like Jesus, what did Jesus do? What did he look like in his ministry? Well, Jesus took care of the people that most people left alone. Jesus pursued people that most people thought were hopeless. Jesus went after the prostitutes, the tax collectors. Jesus went after the riffraff of society. He went after the people that most people leave alone, especially religious people. Religious people like to think in very, very deep theological categories. They like to have very precise theological systems. But oftentimes religious people that think like that can miss out on the weightier matters of the law, and they're not concerned many times with love, with justice, with mercy. And so that's what Christ calls us to, is not to just be great theological thinkers, but to live in such a way that it reflects who he is and his glory. And really, if God becomes a man and walks among us and shows us the way to live, we're to follow that, be conformed to that. And so that's what we hope we're doing in anything we do as Christians, whether it's prison ministry, ministry for drug and alcohol addicts, whether it's ministry for orphans, widows, whatever it is, we do to the glory of God. We do to be pleasing to God so that he finds pleasure in it, and we also find pleasure and delight in it because we're doing what's pleasing to God. And so there's sort of a basic snapshot of why Christians would do homeless ministry.
All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to see that they don't want to fight no more, there be no more war, and our children obey. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Someday things will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, stop with the hate. Someday we'll all be free, and I'm proud to be under the same sun. Sing it, toast our freedom that way.